part of it was we were just like, hey, let's come up with as many enemies as we can that kind of are, doing different interesting things to you, because if every enemy is just like samey, that's not very interesting. And then your decks are going to be like the same, and that's pretty boring. So we wanted, all kinds of different stuff to just force flexibility.
So the Watcher, right? The Watcher is overpowered. She was the fourth and final character added to Slay the Spire, right at the end of the game's development, and you can tell that she did not get as much time in the oven as the other three characters. Since this is a single-player game, character strength is often measured by that character's win streak world record, or how many times in a row have the best players in the world been able to win with this character on the highest difficulty. For most characters, this number looks like, 16, 19 wins in a row. For the Watcher, that number looks like 38 goddamn wins in a row. This is a level of consistency that is yet to be matched on the other characters, and it is generally agreed that the Watcher is by far the most powerful character in the game. She also frequently gets called boring, and linear, and like a mod character that they accidentally let into the base game. So what's up with that? Part 1, the combo. Notoriously, the Watcher has this little number called the Rushdown Infinite. There are probably a million different variations on how to set up this combo, but the basic gist goes like this. Step 1. Find a card that allows you to enter the Wrath stance for 1 energy. Oh great, you already have it because it's in your fucking starter deck. Step 2. Find a card that allows you to enter the Calm stance for 1 energy. Oh cool, you just found it in Act 1 because there's 2 of them, and they're both uncommon. And also there's a boss relic that allows you to do it with the starter deck. Step 3. Find some ways to fill up your hand. Oh sweet, you already can because Inner Peace starts the combo and draws you cards. And also Scrawl and Volt exist. Seriously, look at these cards. Look at these fucking cards. You don't even need to have played a second of Slay the Spire to see how broken these cards are. Scrawl upgrades to cost 0. If these were Magic cards, they would be banned in every format. Why is the Watcher so fucking cracked? Step 4. Find Rushdown. Yep, it's an uncommon and a power, meaning you can almost always find it by just going to every shop possible. Rushdown is a truly disgusting card. This card, like many Watcher cards, would be fucked up if the Infinite didn't even exist. Step 5, get all this fucking bullshit out of your deck and throw in one of these or one of these for block, and then Step 6, put your old deck in your hand and do this. For as long as it takes to win the fight. Now, normally in Slay the Spire, it's quite difficult to force a specific infinite combo on the highest difficulties, due to the inherent variance of the game and the fact that you're often forced to pick cards that don't contribute to that infinite game plan in order to solve fights in the short term. However, even beyond the fact that the Rushdown Infinite can be assembled in so many ways that you're more likely than not to see all of the pieces in a given run, the Watcher is just fundamentally kinda broken. The Watcher's base deck and like 1 decent damage card is enough to get you through the entirety of Act 1. Wrath Stance, which doubles the damage of all of your attacks while making you take double damage, is just completely bonkers stupid powerful, and allows the Watcher to just flat out ignore most card rewards in favor of just scouring for the cards that make up the Infinite. And then if you don't get the Infinite, you don't see Rushdown, well, who cares? You now have an extremely sleek, efficient deck that deals a shitload of damage very quickly and blocks forever. The deck that you need to build in order to go Infinite just so happens to also be the best Watcher deck anyway. The Infinite is just insurance most of the time. In the words of Merl, the guy who pioneered this playstyle on the Watcher and got that ridiculous 38-win streak,
it's important to remember that forcing Infinite isn't something that I advocate. The Infinite is just often a natural consequence of what I believe to be the best decisions.
Now, this isn't to say that you can't win with other strategies, that this strategy is 100% optimal, or that the Watcher is quote-unquote solved by this strategy. There are plenty of great Slay the Spire players who disagree with Merl that this is the best way to play the character. But it is proven to be very consistent, and if you're a casual player, it'll probably be enough to nab you your first A20 heart win. Obviously, Slay the Spire is still a challenging game. You're still gonna get your shit rocked by Lagavulin if you don't know what you're doing, but the Watcher can get higher win rates than every other character by essentially just forcing this strategy every time. And it is just way simpler to execute than the common meta strategies on other characters.
With Watcher, the game you're playing is how do I not lose? Whereas with Silent, it's much more of a how do I win scenario.
And also, I mean, just fucking look at Volt and Scrawl. Seriously, what the fuck is going on with this fucking character? Part 2. The cards. In Merl's Watcher tier list video from December 2021, there's a place at the top of the list that's just called The Cards. Scrawl, Volt, Rushdown, Fear No Evil, Inner Peace, Meditate, Mental Fortress, Talk to the Hand, Empty Mind, Tantrum, Eruption, and Vigilance.
The cards are basically like the absolute top tier cards on Watcher. These are the cards that make the infinite combo work, the cards that are like the best block scaling cards, the best draw cards. You can just have your deck be these cards and you're just gonna win the run.
I watched this video and went from being like Ascension 3 with the Watcher to being Ascension 20 in like a week. I used to suck ass at this character, and now if you put a gun to my head and told me I had to win a game of Slay the Spire, I'm picking the Watcher every time, no question. I went infinite on floor 6 once. Something else you might notice about this tier list is that almost half of the Watcher's card pool is in the you should basically never take this tier.
In reality, there probably is a context in which a card like Battle Hymn, or some of the other basically nevers would want to be picked. But essentially, like, for the vast majority of people who are going to play Watcher, and for the vast majority of Watcher runs, you could just think that card doesn't exist straight up and just not even see it in any of the card rewards, and you would be completely fine. Like, you could probably win 85 to 90 to 95% of your runs, probably even still.
Now, if you play a lot of this game but don't really play Watcher, you might have noticed by now that this is completely fucking ludicrous advice for playing any other character. One of the first lessons you'll learn as a Slay the Spire player is don't force an archetype. You will basically never watch a video made by a top player for the Ironclad, Silent, or Defect where they tell you, yeah, just ignore most of this garbage and go for this style of build almost every time. It's always, oh, well, this card isn't great, but you need to take it in Act 1 sometimes for damage. Or, oh, this card is usually bad, but has a strong niche in this specific situation, with just a few outright bad cards sitting at the bottom. And good players often disagree about what those bad cards are. Merl's Watcher tier list is basically unrecognizable as Slay the Spire advice, and yet here he is, winning 38 times in a row. And all of this is like a problem, right? It's a design flaw that you can ignore all of the Watcher's wacky mechanics and open-ended combo potential in favor of this extremely degenerate strategy. It's probably not good that cards as cool as Master Reality and Conjure Blade and Alpha are basically worthless. And I know this because the designers of the game have said so.
There's like 2 levels of deck building basically, where if you're new to the game, you can just kind of look for archetypes and just be like, okay, I'm going to build a poison deck or whatever because I see this cool poison card that makes me want to go there, and you can just do that. And then as you get better at the game, you can start to understand that really what you're trying to do with your card selections is solve specific problems, like, okay, I need something to handle scaling for the bosses, or I need mitigation to better handle damage from a bunch of enemies, or okay, I need some more front-loaded damage to kill elites in Act 1. So it's more about solving those problems and the best way to do it. And so that's like the higher level of strategy, and I think it's actually much more interesting too, so because it's more dynamic and it changes as you play.
This degenerate style of gameplay is not what the designers of Slay the Spire wanted it to be about. They wanted you to have to make tough calls, draft around short-term problems, and build a deck that's a Swiss Army knife that answers the many challenges the Spire throws at you. Merl's Watcher strategy is antithetical to the entire design ethos of the game. It breaks Slay the Spire on a fundamental level.
Regarding strategic dead end, yeah, I hope it is. Watcher is dead and Merl killed her has a nice ring to it. Character sucks anyway.
So how come it's so fun? Part 3. The Watcher is fun. The Watcher is my favorite character right now because I am a fucking sicko. Learning how to play Merl's Watcher strategy has been the most fun I've had with any game in a long time. I've run the Watcher up from A0 to A20 on 3 different accounts because I enjoy it that much, and I needed to make this video so my head wouldn't explode. So what's the fun in playing a totally degenerate strategy like this? Well, like anyone who plays a character with an infinite in a fighting game will tell you, the interesting part isn't executing the infinite, god no. It's all that work you had to put in to get yourself into a position where you can get your combo online. The Watcher is the exact same way. The choices that you have to make in order to play to the infinite is completely unlike playing any other character. On the Watcher, your most important resources are gold and card removals. You will take Empty Cage over Runic Pyramid on this character. You will sometimes be happy to see Tiny House. You will take 9 question mark events in Act 1 and luck into 4 removals and have an 8-card deck by the first boss. This character is from Bizarro World, and no one is doing it like her. See as many cards as possible and remove as many cards as possible are both goals that have a profound effect on your pathing and decision making, making you value shops more highly and take events way more often than would be reasonable on a real character. This leads to a gameplay style with a really particular texture that can kind of only be matched by playing for things like the Minimalist achievement, which, by the way, if you liked getting the Minimalist achievement, come play some Degenerate Watcher, bro. We are doing Minimalist every day. Playing this style also forces you to engage with entire aspects of the game that the other characters won't teach you as readily. Certainly other characters deal with questions of deck size, draw and discard pile manipulation, and hand size limitations. But to the Degenerate Watcher, these are core mechanics that you need to be thinking about on every turn to even play competently. Learning the Watcher forced me out of the new player habit of largely ignoring these mechanics. When you watch Merl's runs, you'll constantly see him talking about how many real cards he has in his deck. That is, how many cards he has that don't exhaust and aren't powers. You need 10 or less real cards if you want to fit your entire deck in your hand on the second cycle and go infinite. I had literally never even considered this concept of real cards until I started playing Watcher like this, and now I am constantly thinking about my real cards and checking my deck to see how many cards I still need to get rid of to go infinite. And one of my favorite things about playing Merl-style Watcher is all of the ways that the game is designed to throw wrenches into your strategy. Let's take status cards as an example. Status cards are an incredible little piece of design. Generally, in a competitive card game, it's optimal to keep your deck as small as possible to make sure that you're always hitting your most important cards consistently, and this desire is cranked up to 11 on Watcher, who often only wants to take 4 or 5 cards throughout the run. Status cards create a push and pull with this desire. The smaller your deck is, the more harshly punished you'll be against enemies like the Slavers, Nemesis, or Gonu and Deka, because the status cards will be taking up a much higher percentage of your deck than if you had a denser deck with 30 plus cards in it. These fights, as well as fights that outright punish you for going infinite without any blocks, such as the Time Eater and the Heart, mean that if you want to win, you don't just need a deck that can go infinite, you need a deck that can go infinite right away. Against the Time Eater and Heart specifically, you don't just need to be able to set up the combo once, you need to be able to set it up consistently, every turn, without dying, which is not that hard with cards like Mental Fortress and Talk to the Hand, and with relics like Runic Pyramid and Empty Cage, but you will die to these fights if you didn't plan a solution for them. This creates a fun little puzzle at the start of every fight, particularly when your infinite setup is kinda janky, because your deck is a bit bloated and your infinite is dependent on draw order, where you need to figure out how to get the combo online before your deck gets diluted with statuses or the enemies just fucking murder you. Let's look at this fight against the Collector as an example. My infinite setup, to my knowledge, is not guaranteed here. My deck has 13 cards in it total and 10 real cards in it. My deck is exactly small enough to go infinite, but I need to play it right. This means I need to fill up my entire hand with all 10 of these real cards in order to go infinite. Critically, my only sources of draw are Inner Peace, Rushdown, and the Centennial Puzzle, which draws me cards the first time I get hit. So in order to go infinite in this fight, I need to, 1. Get all of the power and exhausting cards out of my deck. 2. Draw Inner Peace and be in Calm Stance on the same turn that I also got hit for the first time this combat. 3. Don't die in the process. Now I do have this fairy in a bottle here. I'd really like to hang on to that in case I fuck up really badly in Act 3, so we're gonna try to get through this fight without losing that. So to start the fight, I play Mental Fortress to get my block going, throw on some chip damage, and play Inner Peace to get into Calm Stance. Pass turn, your move. Turn 2 puts me in a particularly goofy situation. Once I play Rushdown, I check my draw pile and see that it's Strike, Strike, Vigilance. So if I play one of these cards in my hand that puts me into Wrath Stance, draw 2 from Rushdown, and don't draw Vigilance, that is, I draw the 2 strikes, I can't get out of Wrath. I take double damage here, and I lose my precious fairy in a bottle. If I don't enter Wrath, I take a shitload of damage anyway, and I probably lose the fairy shortly after. So I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting owned here. I gamble, and I win, drawing Vigilance and getting some much needed block. I take out the torch heads so they don't fucking body me and end the turn in Calm Stance. On the next turn, I end up in the perfect position to go infinite. Getting hit by the Collector here activates my Centennial Puzzle. I draw an extra 3 this turn. Here I play the Miracle to make sure I have enough space in my hand, play Inner Peace to fill my hand up, and now I've got a full hand, Rush Down Up, a 1-cost Wrath entry, and Inner Peace in the discard pile. My combo is online. Now I get to experience the sweet satisfaction of grinding through the collector's 270 remaining HP, 9 damage at a time. I just absolutely adore playing out these kinds of fights, especially getting to use a card like Inner Peace that really forces you to think about your sequencing decisions with a lot of weight. And I'm really not a great player. I'm sure I missed at least 1 or 2 cleaner lines here, and a better Watcher player than me might see a way that I could have played out this fight with a guaranteed infinite. The point is, just because you have the infinite combo doesn't mean that you just win every fight immediately. Until you're able to whittle down your deck to your key cards, you're going to have to solve these little infinite setup puzzles in order to win. And of course, this is a roguelike. Shit is random. Sometimes you're going to get a low roll and not see the infinite come together, and the ability to still win the run when that happens is what separates a competent Watcher player from a great one. I particularly enjoy the runs where I don't manage to make the infinite happen and I have to duct tape together some bullshit with some apparitions and my goddamn wits. The non-infinite, sleek, efficient Watcher deck is powerful, but often still requires very skillful play and creativity. This is what separates someone like Merl from someone like me, and why I feel like I still have a lot to learn about playing the character. I win like 50% of the time at best because the game just gives me the win for free. Merl wins almost every time because he wins even when the game doesn't give it to him for free. So here's the question. Would Slay the Spire be a better video game if the Watcher was a real character with a balanced card pool and a variety of equally relevant archetypes at her disposal? Yeah, obviously. But if that were the case, I never would have learned to play the game this way. And even if I eventually get bored of the Watcher, I'll always have this month where I hyperfixated on the emergent gameplay of a broken DLC character in an indie card game. And if you don't like it, you can always just play the Watcher like the other characters. And still win. Because she's busted either way. The critical thing here is that Slay the Spire is just a really goddamn good game. No matter where you dig into it, you still find depth. You can break the whole thing in half, and it's still fun. The core loop is so satisfying, and the random elements are incorporated in such complex and interesting ways that you can still have a great time playing a character that spends half the run doing this. When you play like this, you're not playing Slay the Spire, really, but you're playing a different, stupider card game that I have also fallen in love with, and I cherish that. So if you're like me 6 months ago and you hate the Watcher and you suck ass at her, go watch some of Merl's videos and give the degenerate Watcher strategy a shot. It's an acquired taste for sure. It's dry cider, it's straight whiskey, but maybe you'll be a sicko like me and end up loving it. You at least gotta do the infinite at least once. I promise it's really fun. Thanks for watching.